Hey everyone, Jonathan Gornstein here, your industrial insider. I got a very special guest. You can tell by the big red behind him from Pinchin. This is Mike Chester. He is an environmental specialist who will give us some insight on what is going on in the environmental world. He'll touch on costs, he'll touch on timelines, he will touch on everything you need to know about environmentals. Mike, I'll toss it over to you for your own introduction.
Thanks, John. I appreciate the invite and here to talk to the audience today. Yeah, I'm from Pinchin, obviously, and Pinchin is a national engineering environmental service provider. We're Canadian owned. We're coast to coast, from BC to Dartmouth. We have over 40 offices and close to 900 employees. And, our predominant business is in hazardous material or in environmental real estate due diligence. So, those building condition assessments, those phase ones, environmental site assessments, those asbestos testing and surveys and mold surveys, indoor air quality. That is Pinchin's wheelhouse. We do that very well. In fact, this year we're celebrating 40 years of business as well. So anything we can do. Thank you. Appreciate that. We don't look that old, do we? So.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. You mentioned phase one, phase twos, and asbestos. So when I essentially go conditional on a deal, I essentially hand the client over to you to do an environmental inspection. What is a phase one environmental, and why do you need to do it?
Yeah, phase one environmental site assessment, a due diligence one, which is a transactional one where the land use isn't changing, to a more sensitive use. So it's more like this is a commercial building. It's going to remain a commercial building and somebody wants to buy it and they have to get financing on it. So usually from a lender perspective, they'll require a phase one environmental site assessment. And for that purpose is to make sure that the site isn't contaminated. They want to know that it's, a clean site. And if it is contaminated, then what's the cost to remediate it? So a phase one environmental site assessment essentially is a review of the site historically up to current. What's happened on the site? Has there been any spills? Is there any underground storage tanks? Has there been any waste generated there, waste received there, disposal? And what we're going to do is we're going to uncover, and is there any potential contaminated activities on the site? And at that point, a recommendation is done from us, and the site is good to go. We don't recommend a phase two, which is, boreholes and more intrusive testing, or that require a phase two, which requires more testing of the soil and the groundwater.
Okay, so let's jump into a phase cost. What is the typical cost for a phase one?
Yeah, phase ones really do vary. There's a range. It depends if it's just a vacant land or, a green field, or there's actually, a larger site on it and more in downtown urban area. So it can range, but it can, I'd say for the minimum about $2,850, and it works its way kind of all the way up. And we always provide a quote to the client before we proceed. Obviously, a proposal that's formal. We do some preliminary research on the site. So when the client gets a proposal, it's quite a detailed quote, and we get it to the client very timely, within probably 24 hours.
Okay, so phase one, we get kind of a history of the property, what's going on in the property, what's around it. How about a phase two? What is the process of a phase two, and why is it needed?
Yeah, the phase two is needed only because the phase one is then highlighted potential contaminated activity. So there is potential that there is contamination on the site, but we don't know what degree or if in fact it is contaminated. So actually further work needs to be done on the site. So that requires boreholes, actual monitoring wells put in, and sampling of the soil and the water. And we do our testing. Actually, Pinchin has their own lab in Mississauga as well. So we're able to streamline the operation for clients as well and get results really fast that way.
Okay, so I guess results really fast. Like that's a key topic. All of our brokers are typically trying to get deals done within 30 days. Can you get a phase two done in 30 days?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, a phase two within 30 days would be quite a challenge. But I think, at this point, I think it would depend on the scenario, and it would depend on the circumstances and whether we can get the locates done quickly. But there's a good chance that we could get a phase two completed within 4 weeks.
And then let's go back to costs on a phase two. I know there's a broad range of phase two depending on site location, potential contamination, how many boreholes. But if there is let's say, a cost that buyers should keep in mind when going into the deal, do you think there's a particular number they should allocate for a phase two?
Mhm. Yeah, so we talked to phase one. They can look at a minimum of 2850 for a phase one. So now
Right.
you get to phase two because we've identified potential contaminated activities. So on a due diligence phase one, so it's just a transactional. The site's not going to change land use. The minimum cost on a phase two will be roughly between 15 to 20,000. And with a phase one environmental site assessment, it's a minimum of 3 boreholes are done for that.
Got it. And then I guess you've seen a lot of environmental issues over your career. What's the maximum boreholes that you've seen on a site? I'm sure it's a ludicrous amount, but for
I've seen upwards, close to 100, to be honest, if not more. And those typically come into those large, more complex sites, more complexities, records of site conditions, where there's a requirement potentially to do more boreholes.
right. Given that we're in a pandemic, what are some of the things that your clients are asking for? Like before the call, you mentioned air quality. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Share with our listeners what type of services you add other than a phase one and a phase two, and you can even go into air quality, and people are actually asking for that type of stuff.
Absolutely. Well, we all know top of mind COVID-19 now, right? And a lot of, right now we're obviously not reoccupying our buildings, but buildings have been vacant a lot more in the last 15 months. And with that, we've got other issues that are coming into play: indoor air quality, potential of water infiltration into the building, and then, sitting water has created mold and other concerns as well. And then there's the whole sanitary operation of when we're treading now with COVID-19. We have to be a lot more vigilant on those high touch point areas. So with Pinch-In, we will actually go in and do it. We have COVID-19 services, and we'll do an actual assessment of the building and potentially do a layout for the the workstations and make sure that the HVAC system is in order and it's where it needs to be, and also do the testing for building condition assessments as well, whether there's actual mold growth that's occurring or asbestos containing properties in the building already.
Are you finding that a lot? Are you finding HVAC systems are not equipped to handle proper air circulation given COVID-19? Like, are clients starting to ask that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's at this point revved up to we're getting a lot of calls on that nature, but I think we're going to start to see more of that. We're certainly doing a lot more promotion of that particular line because we do think there's maybe room to improve on that. And we just have to be more cognizant of the indoor air quality. I think more so than ever, with the fact that we like to return to our buildings as soon as we possibly can, and we get the green light. We have to ensure that we have that proper circulation of air movement. Yeah.
Okay. Mike, I want to say thank you for joining me on this podcast. The information that you've provided has been great, very useful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Jonathan Gorenstein, or my email is jonathan@leonard.com, or give me a call at 416-471-0904. We'll also tag Mike in the link, so if you have any questions for him, you can shoot them to him directly. Mike, thank you again for joining me, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.